our own vision is inclusivity. We want to include everybody. So that is why we have taken several measures, including enlisting TAF, so that even the disabled will have access to exercise their civic rights. And we have done a lot of sensitization. The stakeholders meeting and engagement alone was another sensitization. All the traditional rulers, of several traditional rulers from several local governments were present. And we appeal to them to take the message back home, because we want people to come out and vote. And they were very happy, and they spoke that they were going to support INEC in going back to their various constituents and kingdoms and request members to come and voters to come out en masse and vote on Saturday, 8th November 2025. We equally charged all the political parties, their candidates, the party chairmen, the civil society. We said we cannot do it alone. And the much we do, if we don't have the support of all the stakeholders, we will not achieve the desired result. But I want to assure you that with the support and cooperation of all the other stakeholders, we'll have a fairly good turnout on Saturday. We charged and directed the law enforcement agents. In fact, it was part of my speech, and I directed that the law enforcement agents should deal with that issue squarely. INEC does not arrest or prosecute, but nevertheless, at the stakeholders conference, somebody even offered to give evidence, and we had requested him to come with such evidence before the commission, which will be handed over to the police for necessary action. So as far as vote buying, which somebody even called vote trading, is concerned, we have a zero tolerance for that. And we have won on several occasions. It's contrary to the provisions of Section 151 of the Electoral Act, which prohibit any form of inducement. So we await such evidence from those that have mentioned it, and they told us that they can even mention names. We're still waiting for those names so that we take necessary action. Then on the issue of the flashpoints, I've just mentioned Ihiala local government, where we have about 20 registration areas. But because of insecurity, as we have the ICS meeting at the national level, so also we have at the state level on matter of security, and then we have at local government areas. So at Ihiala local government area, we got security report that there are 6 registration areas that the security may not be guaranteed in those areas. And what we have done, and which was what happened at the last by-election, was to move those 6 registration areas to come and vote at the local government. They are all aware. As a matter of fact, in those 6 registration areas, we will not even find anybody there. They've already moved to the local government area. So they are going to vote at the local government area. And in other places such as Oka South, Idemili North, and is it Ogbaku or so, we have enough information, especially on the security risk management. And this has been escalated to the law enforcement agents. And that is why we're having about 45,000 deployment of policemen alone, apart from civil defense, apart from other security agencies. So as far as the issue of security is concerned, we have done our best to ensure that the safety of life and property. Cases of misconduct, well, at the stakeholders conference and when we had meetings with the electoral officers, one thing we stress is that the resident electoral commissioner should own up the system. Electoral officers should also own it up. And any case of misconduct will not be tolerated. So at the same time, we also promise to reward any local government, any electoral officer that comes up clean and the results are announced on time. When voting takes place, we have our own metrics we are going to use as a reward system. But on the other hand,
well, a lot is happening in Anambra at the moment with voters trooping into polling units to ensure their vote count and to cast their vote. And there's also surveillance. Security agencies are monitoring activities, and INEC officials are also on ground in some locations. And like we always talk about, the INEC keeping up to promises and ensuring that it is free, fair, and credible elections. Today, we're panning our focus on Anambra State to ensure that we're capturing activities in Anambra, the entire local government areas in Anambra, and talking about different angles, different points of views, especially as this is the first election being conducted by the new INEC chairman. And we're being joined by some gentlemen who will be talking about Anambra election and ensuring that they tell us their own point of view of what's transpiring in Anambra. We have joining us from Anambra itself, we have Mr. Okeke-Enyobi joining us from Anambra. Good morning and welcome to Morning Express.
Good morning, Caleb.
We also have...
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
We also have Comrade Balogun Hamed joining us. And let me begin from Mr. Caleb. How do you see Anambra this morning? How has the processes been so far?
Anambra is the weather is very okay in Anambra this morning, and I left my house at about 6:30 a.m. to see what's happening in various polling units. And I'd say that INEC, I must give them kudos. They were at the polling units at about 7 a.m. in most places. And there were reports of some polling units that had their materials missing and no personnel were there as at 7:30. But before 8:30, when I checked back at these polling units, I was happy to hear that these materials have been brought back and that the personnel to handle them are also present. So I voted about 10 minutes past 9 a.m. this morning. I'm now at Emmanuel Anglican Church at Navy, where I voted at the polling unit 11, and the voting process was seamless. Anambra, I would say that in Anambra, if you look around, if you show them around, you will find that people are out. A lot of people are here at my voting center, and most of them have voted because the materials arrived very early. Most of them have voted. And they're in high spirits. Today's contest is a tough one. It's usually between four parties. The ruling All Progressive Grand Alliance, the APC, and then also the Labour Party, whose candidate is from Nnewi North here, and also the ADC, whose candidate is also from Nnewi North. These are the factors that made particularly people in Nnewi North to be very interested in this election. Two of their sons being involved in the election.
Let's talk a bit about the mood. One problem I am very particular about, Anambra has a population of estimated 7 million, and eligible voters, from what we're told, is around 2.8 million. Let's talk about turnout. How's the turnout like this morning? From a lot of places you've been to in Anambra, can you categorically tell us that people are coming out to vote?
That's a very big problem with Anambra. I think in the Nnewi North where I am right now, there are 166,400 registered voters. Of that number, only a little above 1,000 did not collect their voters' cards. But when we see every election, even if after this one I can't comment now, even though there are people out here, some of them are out here for commercial purposes, some are selling different things, and so I cannot say that the population here right now are all voters. And the same applies to every other place you go to in Anambra. I've also been to Ekiti local government this morning, precisely, where a lot of people are trickling out at the time I was there. There's a problem of voter apathy in Anambra State. It stems from a lack of concern in governance and the political process. I would say that Anambra State, for the longest time, the masses obtained their voters card, but they use it mostly for identification purposes. They don't really use them to exercise their franchise on voting day. So yes, we have a problem of voter turnout in Anambra State. But today, from what I've seen in terms of the punctuality of voters to the voting the polling units, when you compare it to last last August, you remember that August 16th there was a by-election in Anambra State. That was a pitiable one because the voter turnout was so small. You can imagine in India winner in that election, there was just only 9,000 votes out of 106,400 votes. And so there's cause for concern. However, this morning, I'm happy that there are a lot of people out there. We hope that at least of the 7 million voters in Anambra State, let's say we cross the 30% turnout with what I'm seeing in the Manara Church this morning.
Mr. Caleb, one thing that I'd also like to ask you before we go to other guests of ours virtually who are ready to talk to us. Mr. Caleb, can you talk to us about the security situation in Anambra? About 55 to 60,000 security personnel were deployed to that state. What is the security situation of the state as we speak on election day?
The state is heavily militarized. I would say that number you quoted, the 60,000 officers, I think that's correct because driving from Oka yesterday up to Nuri, I encountered a lot of checkpoints, and what's important is that those checkpoints were by the police and the army. The local vigilantes were nowhere to be found because the election guidelines that were released by the police outlawed their participation in the electoral process. So yes, there's a lot of men of Nigeria police on ground. Here in the polling units, I just saw a contingent of army people who came in and then they are moving on to other places. I think there's security in the Anambra State, and I think that the number of our personnel deployed is just enough. Seeing from what I saw between Oka and the Nnewi yesterday, the number of the presence of security yesterday, and even this morning around the town where I'm constrained to, at the room of police agents and army everywhere. I hope that the political parties will conduct themselves well, so we don't have any security issues in our hands throughout the day.
Okay, and also joining us virtually is Honorable Michael Jusuf, a former candidate of House of Assembly. And before we come to you, Honorable Michael, I'd like to speak briefly with Balogun Hamed, Mr. Balogun Hamed. Considering how the discussion has been with regards to Anambra election, especially with the incumbent and federal might at play, let's look at some of the angles of determining factors that could lead to election of personalities, and one of it has been economic issues, which leads to discussion of vote buying and vote apathy. You think Anambra has gone past a level, because we always talk about Anambra having some of richest and wealthy people in the state. You think Anambra can supersede or come out strong and resist vote buying in times of this nature?
Hello, please, can you repeat what the question? Because I can't hear you well. For Jonathan, but maybe it's not getting clearer.
Okay,
can you repeat the question?
I was talking about issues of vote buying and vote apathy in Anambra. Can the people resist vote buying at this point?
Okay. Yeah. Good morning to everybody over there in the studio. And I say good morning to people of Anambra. Because so far so good with what I'm seeing. It's not too bad, and it shows the preparedness of INEC. Just the way Professor I'm going to put it the last time that they're having this their stakeholder. But either we like it or not, issue of vote apathy is something that you can't take away from the system as it is today. So if I collect the last election in Anambra, at least out of the total voters registered, they have about 10.2% turnout. You get it? And it's not because of that thing, but because of the tension soak within the contest at that point in time. That was when the pressure group, the secessionists by saying that people should not come aboard to come and vote. But now we have a different situation. The different situation says that at least since the government have come into existence, the government of the Afghan government, and the key point is this, that what are the responsibility, the connectivity between the people and the government? Are the people seeing the dividend of that government that they keep out for 4 years ago to come and come and decide who to govern the state? If yes, definitely there's going to be a large turnout. But if no, there is going to be more low turnout compared to the last election. Because when governments are not giving back to the people, people will definitely not come on board to come out to come and cast their vote. And at the same time, the quality of the process. The quality of the process in the sense that what is the integrity of the process? Here, the preparation of INEC. The people have the trust. The people have the trust on the empire that is coordinating the electoral process. But well, let's have and give the new INEC chairman benefit of doubt. Because the last time when he was addressing the political gladiators in Anambra, and he gave them his reps, gave them promises, but those promises need to be followed. And I can see that the prompt of the promptness of the electoral material to the polling units, that is the first primary test. And I think I heard your correspondent when he was discussing, when he was talking the other time, and the pocket of polling unit that I've seen so far today, I see that there's early arrival and early commencement of voting. So from now, so far, so good. We cannot use that to judge what is happening presently. So let us just give them, and the day is still young. Yeah, the day is still young. You never know, maybe there's going to be a light turnout. But as it for now, let us just say, okay, let us wait and see and cross our finger.
All right, Mr. Balogun, we'll come back to you. Let's bring in Mr. Jusuf. Mr. Jusuf, at this point, from fillers, it does look like Amokwinton means business from what we're hearing. The deployment of sensitive materials, commencement, ad hoc staff, everything seems to be on point. Do you suppose, Mr. Jusuf, that Amokwinton will get it right with this election?
Say it again. Do I suppose what?
With the way that he has started, with what we are hearing about how election is going at the moment in Anambra, do you think that Amokwinton will get it right with this election?
Okay. Good morning, everyone, and good morning to the people of Anambra. Well, I will say this for free, that the fate of Anambra lies in the hands of the people, and I think with the advancements of what we are going through in Nigeria as a whole, I think we now have an eye opener on how we can handle this, take this election as it is ours. Yes, every other thing has been put in place. The government has actually played their role, and it is left for the people of Anambra State to also play their role. So regardless of the cumbersome of the duty on the INEC chairman and the federal government, the fate of Anambra State lies in the hands of the people. All they just need to do is come out in mass, vote for the right candidate, regardless of the political party, and ensure that Anambra gets a good candidate that will take them to the next level.
Now, the question I'd asked you, Mr. Jusuf, was based on fillers, the way the election is going. Mr. Caleb, who's in Anambra, did tell us that, as at early, most of the sensitive materials, INEC personnel were already on ground. And I'd asked you a question. With the way that it is going, there's a lot of expectation on INEC and Professor Joash Amokwinton. Do you think he's going to get it right with this election?
Okay, so I get it now. So basically, I would answer by saying that he has a lot of room to play. He has a lot of duties, a lot of work to do, and if he's going to get it right, that's if he's right with his conscience and stick to his duty. However, his immediate priority should engage the National Assembly to ensure that the ongoing Electoral Act Amendment Bill receive the accelerated attention. However, it should also embrace technological deployment to eliminate election centers. With all of this, if you put all of this in place, also ensuring that the electoral body champions the legislation granting INEC to authorize, qualify, and disqualify candidates. Now, if we can do this justly, definitely this election will actually go well. It should also not forget to sanitize the voter registration, also implement synchronizing NIN to voters card, in line to the democratic parties as well. And it should also allow or imbibe the idea of allowing Nigerians in diaspora to also vote, which means he has a lot of work to do. But if he's honest with his duty and is not being taking instruction from whoever he's taking instruction from, and he's being honest with his duty, definitely this election will go free and fair. But if it's not taking, if it's not, how can I put it? Let me put it this way: if it's being bossed around and not pledging to Nigeria his primary duties, definitely is going to be like every other INEC chairman that has failed Nigerians.
Okay, all right. We'll get back to you briefly. Let's speak with Caleb in Anambra. Caleb, let's talk about the functionality of the beavers. So far, have you seen the beavers being used? Are there glitches or it is functioning well?
Is a question for me because I can't hear you.
Yes, Mr. Caleb, I'm asking about the functionality of the beavers. Are they being used at the moment?
Well, I'll tell you my experience so that I can address that question. I came in about 9 o'clock, and just apart from standing on the line, by 9:11 I was done. I started voting by 9:10, so it took a whole of just 1 minute for me to vote. What that means is that the beavers is watching, because the process was very seamless. I wouldn't know if that is the same for every other voter, but that was my experience this morning.
All right, Mr. Caleb, you something you said right now that I'm very interested in. You said it took you less than a minute, and you made mention of the fact that you had to stand on the line. Let's talk about orderliness. I want to believe you have security personnel where you are at that center. How orderly are the voters, and how hitch-free has the process been?
Oh, well, the voters are orderly, apart from the fact that some of them are also a bit unruly, those who are looking for, because you must not take away the place of vote buying in what is happening today. I've already observed that political parties are going about, asking voters to vote for money. I think the APC here is sharing 10,000
Mr. Caleb,
I'm trying to come to that.
Hold on, Mr. Caleb. I hope you know it's election day, and on election day we will not be talking political parties now, because of course it may suggest to voters.
Sorry to mention parties.
Hold on, please, Mr. Caleb.
Okay.
As a broadcast journalist that we both are, we are not to talk about political parties on election day. We just talk about the candidates and the process. That's why I'm just halting you there. But you made mention of something that I want to speak to. You spoke about voter inducement. Did you witness any?
Yes, I was just saying that. Maybe I just went into a little bit of details. But I have witnessed this morning vote buying in its very crudest form. Both from the voters who are about asking how much is being shared, and the political parties who are looking for who to vote. and what to give to them if they are voted for them. So that's a factor in today's election.
What about
that
security? If these things are happening, Mr. Caleb, the security personnel who we expect to be on ground, are they not even doing anything about checking what you have just alleged?
Well, the security agencies they're all here. If you look by this side, if you look behind me, you see the security agents that are there. They are not doing anything whatsoever to stop the vote buying happening.
Okay, Mr. Caleb, just hold on. We'll come back to you. This is where we bring Mr. Balogun in. Mr. Balogun, I want to ask you this. In the build-up to this election, one of the problems that people spoke about, at some point, a candidate was accused of this, is the issue which Caleb in Anambra just spoke about, the issue of vote buying, voter inducement. Is that going to play heavily, knowing that Anambra is a very independent state to a huge extent because the people are very business-minded? Anambra is reputed for very rich people, very industrious people. Is money going to play a deciding factor in this election, Mr. Balogun?
To be sincere and candid, what apathy is the victim of vote buying. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because when people refuse to turn out, okay, let me say something. When we have a polling unit that at the total register in that polling unit are about 5,000, and nowadays maybe 400 people turn out to change me for that manipulation. And ordinary politicians for whom we have, they always want to win election. Then politicians want to win election, and the only way they want to win that election is to manipulate the system. Because I'm coming back to others. People themselves, once you used to turn up to come and decide your duty, you have big room for vote buying. Now, politicians always have money to throw around, and it gives us that really we have that genuine interest of the people, and it is based on the past record and anticipated that people definitely come out to come and start their vote for you because they believe in your ideology. But when political parties have no ideology, you get it. So what are you expecting for them than to try to manipulate the system? What you can question honest, yes, because it's not their job. I can see that when you are discussing the other guy over there as a police, that what are the police doing? The police need to win. And it's part of their duty, and it's because the integrity of the process. The integrity of the process. When police are there, their duty is to go and force electoral manipulation. But what the police do away, is it the INEC or the people? The people that are happy that they have somebody to come and do their own. And we cannot have any choice of that. So, vote buying is thing that are putting deep into their system. Okay. And the only way to go about it is let people always come as well, and start their phone, and
okay, hold on to that thought. Let's bring on Honorable Michael Jusuf. Mr. Balogun, we'll get back to you briefly. Let's bring on Honorable Michael Jusuf.
That are the part of the integrity of the process. If the device is working perfectly, and
Okay, let's bring on Honorable Michael Jusuf briefly. We're looking at power play in some level. There's always this speculation or the discussion that there's some greater influence from the Federation on state election. And Honorable Jusuf, at least you've had interactions in the political space. Are there usually a greater impact of a federal or national influence on state elections of this nature?
to update the system of the portal, the INEC portal. Because if that is done, so it will give it will show the transparency of the INEC, the transparency in handling and delivering transparent, violence-free.
Mr. Balogun, can you hear me? Just hold on for a moment there, Mr. Balogun. We'll come back to you. I'm making some very salient point there, but we'll come back to you. Let's bring it, Honorable Jusuf. Honorable, the question asked you is, we'll come back to you, Mr. Balogun. The question asked is, as somebody who's been in the political space, speak to us about either state or federal influence in the outcome of elections.
Okay, so that's great, you guys. I should speak about the federal on
Honorable Yusuf, can you hear me?
Election to the Nigerians, they feel like they want to deliver a free and fair election. Now, to you, the Nigerians, are they going to deliver a free and fair election to us? That's left for the Nigerians to do. And these are all for the Nigerians. What we don't know, but best known to the federal government. The federal government interest is to ensure that the best candidate win, either selfishly or for the masses. Regardless of whoever is going to, they will ensure that they work hand in the winner of today's election, ensuring that Anambra goes to the next level or the next phase in the next 4 years, or whatever interest is going to be. So whether selfish interest or the interest of the people, the federal government ensure that the right candidate of Anambra makes the right decision and work hand in hand to the next phase of Anambra State. So regardless, whatever interest they have, which I don't want to talk about, and I don't want to delve into details about their interest, but all we know is that the federal government wants to ensure that Anambra State decide whoever is going to govern them in the next 4 years, either for the masses or for their selfish interest. Thank you.
All right, Honorable Yusuf, we'll come back to you. Let me bring in Caleb. Mr. Caleb, I want to come to you because you're on ground, and I'm going to be speaking to you based on your presence on ground. I'm going to be asking what you're seeing. Mr. Caleb, I'd like to ask you, one thing that you spoke about that I'm very interested in is this issue of voter inducement. Speak to us, if you will, about the mood of the state now, going into the election. What has been the mood of the state going into the election? That will determine the next question I'd ask you, especially on this issue of voter inducement. Is it a happy mood going into the elections or a satisfactory mode of governance? What is the mood of the state like going into these elections?
Well, going into the election, before now, in Anambra State, you understand that elections are very keenly contested in Anambra State, but this year presented a different experience for most of the electorates. This year, there was no much contest, and there was no more campaign. The campaigns were not as hot as they used to be. And most people would assume that that is because the people are already satisfied with the ruling of Progressive Grand Alliance, the government of the country. That is the assumption. That's why most people are not turning out. The rallies this year were very few and spread apart. So the mood of the country, of the state, as at this morning before the election commenced, was that of that there's no contest, because the candidates were not pulling their weight. Before this election, you would find that the governor was campaigning even more than the opposition parties. So that sets the mood for all that we are saying today. Away from that, you will find that in Anambra State, there is usually the question of rotation. Right now, it is the turn of the Anambra South. And in Anambra South, where I'm broadcasting from right now, because maybe not the Anambra South senatorial district, the elections seem to be more keenly contested in every other place apart from Anambra South, because that also was what we saw in the reflection when it came to the campaign. So when you add all that together, you will find why money is playing a big role in this election. It's as though most of the political parties kept their monies ostensibly to bring them out today in order to buy votes, because the type of noise that accompanies elections in Anambra State, we didn't see that this year. We didn't see political parties having rallies. We didn't know really where I am. We didn't see much of the political rallies happening this time around. So I'm thinking that the mood before this election, coupled with what I've seen here this morning and elsewhere, remember this morning I've also been to Okeke local government, or precisely, and the story is the same. There's a lot of voter inducement. It appears that political parties are reserving their monies to buy votes. That's what I think I can deduce from the whole process.
There's also another angle I'd like you to speak briefly on, and that's issue of harassment of journalists. That usually comes up in a number of elections, and considering that this is the first one organized under the leadership of Amukita, have you noticed, or have there been talk or whispers around the corridor on harassment of journalists or reporters on field?
Well, I am here. That's why I'm on the ground. I've been moving about. If there were harassment, I'd like to see it in person, because before now, the security agencies assured us, especially the Commissioner of Police Anambra State, assured that journalists will be protected on today's election. I spoke with him personally yesterday, asking if the arrangements for, if his assurances were still as he had made promise publicly. And he assured me, and at this morning so far, I think that nobody has accosted me, for taking videos, especially, of course, there's a protocol in taking videos in the election. You don't have to capture people closely as they vote. But I think that for those journalists who are keeping to the protocol, I don't think they have any problem. So far, we have a group of journalists around Anambra State, and there's not been any reports so far, because we're actually on the watch out to see if anything happens to any of our colleagues today in the course of their national service.
All right, Mr. Kayla, before I leave you and bring in Mr. Balogun, I'd like to ask you, what is happening as we speak? Are people still casting their votes?
Please, could you repeat again? I didn't hear
what is happening as we speak. Are people casting their votes, or are they still being verified for voting?
Well, people are casting their votes now. Like I told you, I was here as early as 6:30, and then I voted by 9:11. At the time when I voted, people were holding back from voting because the inducement had not arrived. But right now, people are actually voting alongside the inducement I've already reported going on. So the voting process is very seamless. There's not been any problem with the beavers. The beavers seem to be working very well today. Like I told you, when I voted, it was less than a minute from when I presented my voter's card to when I was giving the ballot paper to vote. So right now, if you see behind me now, there's a lot of people, everybody there, they are casting their votes alongside asking for incentives. So the vote buying is two ways. People are asking for what should be given to them for their votes, as well as political parties going around seeking out people to give them something. So it's a voting bazaar today in a manner like that.
Mr. Kayla, I like your sense of humor though, and the words you've used. But just hold that thought there. Let's bring Mr. Balogun in. Mr. Balogun, I want to bring you at this juncture. One fight that Professor Amukwinto is going to have to deal with is this issue of voter inducement, which has characterized a lot of our elections. How difficult will it be at this point, based on what Mr. Caleb, who's on ground, is reporting? How difficult will it be, or how easy will it be, whichever one, for Amukwinto to deal with this issue of vote buying?
Well, the problem with our electoral acts and our constitution is the problem, because INEC cannot do it all. INEC cannot do it all. There are agencies meant to try those that are upgraded to financial inducement, vote buying in the electoral process. For Christ's sake, you have no business even to go to polling booth with hard source of currency. But today, public display, people money to buy election. People now say that they are selling their right. They say that because of the level of poverty, hunger, and give back that the government purposively, intentionally throw the masses to poverty, hunger, so that they will use the tool of money to manipulate their thinking. This is just the shortcut of it. People don't think for future, they don't think of governance. What they think now is what do you have? Because they have lost trust in the process. Total trust. Now, what can INEC do? With the political gladiators that twist the realm of the judiciary. The political actors are the one deciding fate of what is happening in the judiciary. INEC as a body, as an agency of the government, can only do what they can do. But everything, not until when we take this part of the trial out of INEC neck, let there be independent body to try those that are culpable, those that are found indulging in financial inducement during the electoral process, those that are buying votes of the people. We have to detach that from INEC responsibility, because what is on the table of INEC is far for luminous. You get it? When we are talking about integrity of the process, this is part of the integrity of the process. BVAS is part of the integrity of the process. INEC portal update is part of the integrity of the process. You get it? Then maybe when there is a violence-prone environment that they will cancel election, it's part of the integrity of the process. Vote buying is part of the integrity of the process. They now concoct all others are on the table of INEC. But arrest, get them through the judicial process. We should leave INEC out of that. And I don't know, maybe that is the essence of the security during the electoral process. Go beyond securing the ballot boxes or securing the lives of the people. Part of their job is when you saw or you see people inducing buying people's votes, those people need to be apprehended.
Okay, Mr. Balogun. Mr. Balogun, those
Yeah.
are very important areas which you have captured there. Well, I'd like to bring in Honorable Michael Jusuf briefly. Want to look at, with the discussion on possible solutions to ending vote buying, there's also been the discussion on e-voting. Should we begin to discuss or make preparations for e-voting come 2027 or subsequent elections? Honorable Michael Jusuf, please.
Okay, that is actually the best for Nigeria as it is, because e-voting will actually solve a lot of Nigerian problems. However, I'm not going to say that e-voting is going to be 100% perfect, but it's going to save a lot of life in polling units. It's going to save a lot of vote buying. It's going to bring in credibility to the voting process as well. You know, more like we're going to campaign to whom we're going to vote for, regardless of any physical threat or polling unit threat or an area where we cannot be bold enough to go out there to vote. So with e-voting, it will actually boost the credibility of voting process. It's going to save a whole lot of life and property, and it will reduce the corruption in vote buying. So, and I guess the federal government will not want to invite this, or better still, buy a lot of time trying to do e-voting because of the disadvantage it's going to bring to them. But if that is being invited to the system, if they seek
to the system, Nigeria vote rightly. Nigeria will actually vote with their same mind. Nigerians will not need to fidget while they are trying to vote. Nigeria will be free when trying to vote. So e-voting is actually the best for Nigeria as we speak now. So it is left for the federal government to take it upon themselves and ensure that e-voting commences in 2027. And that is how we can actually bring a better leader to lead Nigeria aright, and a better leader to lead Anambra in the next coming election.
But can we handle it when it comes to technological advancement? Can we handle e-voting in Nigeria? Honorable Jusuf, can you hear me? Are we capable of conducting an e-election in Nigeria?
Okay, so So let's take ourselves back 10 years ago. Were we able, or 15 years ago, were we able to manage social media? No. But as time goes on, we were able to adapt to social media, make use of social media, and ensure social media is to our own advantage. So it might be a little bit shaky, it might be a little bit imbalance at the first sight, but with a gradual, with a consistent process, then we are going to adapt to it. And it's actually fun where we can educate the non-educated ones on how to do e-voting, on how to or how to accept e-voting as a new technique, new ways of voting. The same way that we never heard of gasoline cars, we switch from fuel to gas. The same way we are going to understand that e-voting is actually a better advantage to us. It's not that we cannot handle it, but people, I don't want to mention it, but people will not want them to handle it, whereby seeing it as a disadvantage to us Nigerians. But we can handle it. We can handle it. Nigerians can handle it. It's nothing impossible when it comes to technology that we cannot handle. If they can do it in the diaspora, definitely Nigeria as a giant of Africa, we should be able handle whatever technology that is going to be brought into Nigeria.
All right. Thank you very much, Honorable Jusuf. Let me bring Mr. Caleb. Mr. Caleb, I'd like to ask you, as the elections are ongoing, what are your expectations, from this election as a Nigerian and possibly an Anambarian? What are your expectations?
Well, elections have different phases. I think the voting phase is where we are now. I hope that, I'm hoping, my expectation is that the collation phase will go well, and that there won't be some of these reports where results, when the scores are taken to the collation centers and they change there. I'm hoping that some people and those who are working for him in Anambra State will keep faith with the promise they have given to Anambra people, today, with regards to what they do with the scores that will be arriving in the collation centers from the various polling units today. When that is gotten well, and then I'm hoping that the electronic uploading of these results, so that people can be able to view them on the IRM, would also follow suit the way they promised it. All in all, there's not been any case of violence reported from what I've seen here. I'm also hoping that there will be peace across the Tutuana Government and other states. And that at the end of the day, whoever emerges would be the choice, or would have been the choice of the people. Whether we have seen that voter inducement has become a culture. But beyond that, my hope is that whoever emerges, voter inducement or not, will be the choice of overall Anambra.
All right, gentlemen, just hold your thoughts there. We'll run a couple of information, Jennifer, and then we'll come back and take them out in shorts.
Indeed, and there are some indications of probably how Anambra has gained so much traction when it comes to election matters. I think in Nigeria, it's the first state that had or began the off-cycle elections, and that was after Peter Obi had gained the Supreme Court ruling, which made him become the first off-cycle, or the first states that brought in the off-cycle election. And then subsequently, we've had, from the screen there, we've had the PDP first in May 1999 to 2003, and then the PDP came back in, and then APGA from Peter Obi, and then APGA, and PDP, APGA. So we've had more of APGA, which is away from the norm of the national space in Nigeria. We've had the PDP, and only the APC came in few years behind. But the PDP had a greater run of so many states in the country. But Anambra has been a bit consistent when it comes to
APGA.
Yeah, APGA. And there are some social media reactions. This one from Lee, the Arewa girl, says, "Today is the day Anambra people should choose a leader who will truly focus on infrastructural development and security. They should vote for the future of their state. No more business as usual. Better Anambra." I hope they listen. And we also have from Eugi, says, "The candidates ran a competitive campaign focusing on issues rather than insults. I believe the new governor will be committed to accountability and service. Good governance loading." Oh, all right. And not just from him, we've had from Bede Ezeugo, says, "I have a question though. Does it mean that only tribesmen are allowed to cast votes in any state during elections? For example, Yorubas living in Anambra aren't allowed to cast votes or what?" That's a very important question.
That's a fantastic question. That's a fantastic question. This one is from Fred Farbley. Fred Farbley says, "Security deployment needs to be a non-partisan and strategically focused one. The government must address the root causes of insecurity. But for today, the focus must be on securing collation centers and providing visible, non-intimidating patrols to boost voter confidence, especially in the flagged high-risk local government areas."
Okay, and
well,
I'd like to bring up that question.
Yeah, I think that question is a fantastic one.
Yes.
We will take this question to Mr. Balogun. Clearly, Mr. Balogun, you're a Yoruba man, and allow me to just say some things as it is. One of the social media reactions we just took now speaks to the issue of non-indigents voting in states where they are not from. Do you think we'll ever get to that point where, irrespective of where you're from,
so long as you're a resident,
as you're resident in that state, you can cast your vote? Mr. Balogun.
I think the law is well spread on that. There's no limitation to people where you reside. Once you reside in an environment, you can cast your vote. The only thing that it takes you is for you to just go and take your voter's registration card.
But it hasn't been that way, Mr. Balogun. It hasn't been that way. It's been observed that, most people who are not indigents of that state, they're not exactly given that freedom to vote. Well, okay, let me take in Lagos, for example, no matter your tribe, once you have your voter's card, you can come on board to come and vote. Maybe what you are trying to say is that maybe because once you are not an indigent of the state, people have this influence, maybe that you are not ready to come and vote for our people. That's what we were. So at least, maybe is that the tone of the question, or the tone of the question is that people that non-indigent of any state are not allowed to cast their votes during the electoral process, because as far as I know, once anywhere you decide, I can decide today that the next election that I want to go and cast my vote in Osun State. It's a matter of transferring my voter's card over there, and I cast the vote 6 months before the election day.
Okay.
So I think we should bring in.
I think because of technology.
All right, Mr. Balogun, because of time.
Technology has shown us that you can cast your vote. The only thing, just when they're asking on the other time that if voting, well, it's possible here in Nigeria, except you are deceiving ourselves, except we are not sincere about it. What is e-voting?
Okay.
In fact, I think the last time I saw that INEC are coming on board with to inject this thing in that pre-election.
Okay.
Maybe INEC staff, security officers be able to have their time to cast their vote before the due day of the election.
Yeah. Good point there.
Right.
Mr. Balogun. Mr. Balogun. Mr. Balogun, forgive me to thank you at this point, though, because we do not have the luxury of time. But that final line there is a very fine place to leave it, Mr. Balogun. I must thank you. I must thank you at this juncture for joining the conversation, Mr. Balogun. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Mr. Balogun. Honorable Jusuf, I want to come to you. Moving forward, what advice do you have for Professor Josh Amokminton at this juncture? Honorable Jusuf, are you there?
Honorable Michael Jusuf, can you hear us?
We'll just go to Mr. Caleb. Mr. Caleb, let's conclude this conversation. If you had an advice to give Professor Josh, at this point, I mean, the new INEC boss at this juncture, what advice would you give him, taking into account all that you have reported?
I'll just say that we need to have more. We need to have cameras at the polling units. I think that is what will deter this vote buying. INEC needs to provide for 360 cameras, at least one per voting center, and so that politicians will be more mindful of what they do. And of course, I would also advise that we should ensure that the results are uploaded. Whatever has been stalling the functionality of IREV should be tackled, so that as soon as they are done with the field, the scores can be uploaded and people can see it in real time, so that we can eliminate the issue with collation, because that has been a very big concern, where people just sit in their homes and write results, and it negates whatever thing that the voters have done in the field. So those two things have to be looked at.
Mr. Caleb, thank you for your time. We will keep in touch with you so we can have a first-hand account and reportage of all that's happened today, Election Day in Anambra State. Thank you again, Mr. Caleb. Thank you. All right, Jennifer, as we conclude this part, it is hoped that the elections will go hitch-free. One thing that has really been very loud is the issue of voter inducement, based on what Mr. Caleb has reported. We do hope that it is addressed, because it's a big problem.
It's a very funny thing. I think the National Orientation Agency also has a role to play here, because it is not just political parties too. The people themselves are going to request for some form of inducement. So I think National Orientation Agency has to get to the streets. The people have to be aware. They need a reorientation of a mindset towards electioneering processes. I hope that will go a long way to also change some ideologies of election. Well, we'll take a break, and when we return, we'll be talking about. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us for this conversation. Let's take a break now.